Here's a small essay on poetry. The epigraph by my good friend Thomas R. Smith, the poet. Poetry allows access to a certain spectrum of the spiritual world, even for atheists. Reading poetry and writing poetry require different skill sets. By reading poetry, we examine what is arriving from outside of us, how it may relate to us, or how it triggers something inside of us, so that we may better understand how we relate to the outer world and our place within the cosmos. One must have a keen mind or a keen emotional intelligence to read poetry and to get something out of life experience, poems, and literature. Reading poetry is a function with which we greet the outer world as it comes to us. This is a consumptive process. Academics do this so well. They become the interpreters between the various authorities and the reader or listener. The authority is outside the person, as academic interpreters tell us. However well the experts give us labels, information, and guidance, they cannot give us experience. We experience alone, even in communal functions, where we share outer experiences in poems. Ultimately, each person experiences life and its gifts individually and alone. Writing poetry is a function of curiosity and examination of one's own inner life and the deeper states of consciousness, whether intellectual, emotional, or spiritual. To write poetry, one must courageously look at what emerges from a direction other than the outer world, coming from our personal past or our connections to the personal and collective unconscious. If something is triggered by the outer world or a memory, we look for the patterns, explanations, and sources through imagery and story. We may ask ourselves, what's happening to me? Why am I in this state? Our own poetic process is an ordering of the imagery that we have mixed with our curiosity, so we may better understand or connect with divinity. This is a digestive process, a transformative process. Academics dig into the outer world with scientific tools so that results can be duplicated. However, in matters of the inner world, the soul, divinity, poetry, and individuality, nothing can ever be exactly duplicated. Even though the internal patterns that emerge do so through the patterns of universal laws, and they are divinely and perpetually changing. Individual bits of information, memories, and genetic factors will always be universally diverse, and the scientific process will never quite work accurately with the individual soulfulness. Writing poetry, as with all truthfully artistic endeavors, is a quest toward expressing and experiencing universal relationships through individual experience. No matter our kinship or cultural context, each person's inner landscape is unique. We meet divinity through this uniqueness, each of us, with whatever collection of personalities, successes, and failures we inhabit, each of us as we are. The reading of our poems aloud, sharing them with the outer world, is the flowering process, an expression which shows the outer world what our personal inner landscape is like. By reading another person's poems aloud, we reflect their process and landscape, and this too gives a partial picture of our own inner landscape.